I never imagined that close people could let me down so badly, but the day before yesterday, everything became crystal clear. I was settled in my armchair with a cup of cooled tea, covered in droplets of moisture, scrolling through my smartphone when a notification from my mother came in. It was concise, emotionless, and unexpected. Check our joint balance. Your brother used the family savings for the wedding ceremony. For a second, I froze. I blinked, reread the text, as if expecting it to be some system error. But number 20,000 euros, 20,000 euros from our shared reserve. And they didn't even inform me. My chest tightened, my breathing quickened. I thought about our upbringing with my brother. We've always been different. He, charming, charismatic, quickly making acquaintances and almost always getting what he wants. Me, calm, cautious, persistent, preferring to stay in the background. Our parents always noticed this difference. I remember their teasing at family dinners. Try hard, of course, but your brother is on a whole different level. Phrases that seemed like playful hints actually cut like a blade. Constant comparison. And now, almost 10 years after graduating from university, when I thought our relationships had at least somewhat stabilized, it turns out my brother borrowed 20 euros K from our parents and managed without inviting me. At first, I refused to believe it. Maybe a misunderstanding. Perhaps our parents transferred something by mistake. The thought flashed. I called my brother. "Hello," I said, trying to sound balanced. "Hey," he responded cheerfully, as if I'd interrupted him from selecting the wedding menu. "Listen, I checked the account. 20,000 euros for the wedding," I asked. He chuckled. He actually laughed. "Ah, yeah, it was. Necessary, but no hard feelings, old man," he replied. No hard feelings. Everything inside me flipped. "I don't get it," I continued. "They didn't even invite me." He hesitated, then he said, We thought you were busy with work, and honestly, we didn't think you'd be interested." And you know what hurt the most? It was true. I really don't participate much in family celebrations, but that doesn't cancel out the feeling that I'd been simply erased. 20 euros K, a lavish event, photos on Instagram, and I'm not there. I recalled our childhood years, how we exchanged toys and he always got the best ones, how at holidays his friends got cooler gifts than mine, how my academic achievements went unnoticed while praise always went to him. And now, years later, history repeats itself. Only the stakes are higher: finances, adult choices, a ceremony. I tried to discuss it with our parents. Mom and Dad were sitting in the living room, smiling as if nothing had happened. "Mom, Dad, I checked the balance," I started carefully. "Oh, yes, that's for your brother's wedding," Mom noted, looking away. "And was I invited?" I asked, keeping my cool. "We thought you didn't want to come," Dad responded. Inside, it was burning. It wasn't the money that infuriated me so much, not the euros 20K. It was the lack of trust, the disregard, the betrayal. Everything I'd done for the family seemed pointless. I'd always helped, supported, been there. And what in the end, they excluded me from one of the key moments in their lives. I sank into the armchair and covered my face with my hands. My mind kept cycling through options. Return the money. Confront my brother. Or completely distance myself from the family. Each option seemed insufficient. Each one painfully tightened my throat. And then a thought arose. Don't hide it. Not about the finances, not about the ceremony, about myself. About the fact that my feelings matter. I have to convey to them what they've done. That I'm real, that I'm part of this family, and they can't treat me like this. I looked at my smartphone. Instagram, photos, his smile, her smile, parents beaming, and me. I'm a spectator, an outsider in my own family. 20,000 euros, I whispered, and they didn't even invite me. I felt a lump of anger, pain, and determination growing in my soul. It was a sudden realization that things couldn't go on like this. I took a deep breath and sketched out a plan that would change my relationship with my family and show that my worth isn't subject to their decisions. Start a conversation with my brother, face to face, not for yelling but so he understands. Distance myself from my parents if necessary, for self-protection. Direct my energy into my own life, career, circle, to prove to myself and the world that I matter. Set personal boundaries so that I won't be used as background for my brother anymore. I closed my eyes and felt an unusual calm. Even the anger turned out to be useful. It became fuel for change. I watched my brother's ceremony from behind the scenes, even though I wasn't even invited in person. Every morning after discovering the balance, it went the same way. I grabbed my smartphone, opened Instagram, and scrolled through the feed. And there they were, my brother with his wife, shining, smiling, as if in a perfect world where I have no entry. Each frame was a tiny stab in the soul. Champagne glasses, dances, bliss that I wasn't part of. I tried to convince myself, okay, it's not critical, it's his day of joy, let it be. But then I noticed the details, small things that burned. First, the invitations. My brother personally printed hundreds of cards, wrote them in elegant font. They looked perfect, glitter, floral patterns, refined envelopes. And my name, not a single one, emptiness, not a word, not a hint of my existence on that day. Second, the expenses. Mom sent me a photo of the bank statement, 20,000 euros spent on renting a luxury venue for the weekend, catering, which took almost half, professional photographer and videographer, drone footage editing, floristry, decor, candles, linens, utensils, souvenirs for guests, wedding favors, bouquets for the bridal party. And you know, I didn't see any of it in person, only through the screen. I tried to talk to my mother. "Mom, don't you realize that you've hurt me?" I asked, holding back from shouting. "We thought you didn't want to go," she replied detachedly again. "But this is my family," I almost shouted. "I deserve to be there." She just shrugged. I realized. For them, the external gloss, the celebration, the smiles of the guests are more important than the feelings of those they supposedly value. I recalled how in my youth I watched my brother take all the best, gifts, attention, approval. And now, years later, the cycle closed, only the stakes have risen. 20 euros K, a magnificent event, a feast, and I'm not there. Social media served as a mirror of torment. Every post, a feast, laughter, euphoria, captions, the happiest day of our lives, grateful to everyone who shared it with us. And I sat in my apartment, feeling like a ghost, part of the family only by blood but not in essence. The sharpest moment happened when I learned about the gifts. My brother received an additional 5,000 euros transfer from our parents. Money that could have helped me with home renovations, education, savings, went where I wasn't. I tried sharing my feelings with friends, but no one understood. "Just forget it, it's money," they advised. "Families aren't always fair." But for me, it wasn't about the money. It was about recognition, respect, worth. Every evening I scrolled through the photos. One frame hurt especially, my brother spinning with friends, mom hugging him, dad beaming. And I thought, where am I? Why am I not in these frames? Then I started extracting details. How our parents always highlighted his triumphs. How they praised him for every little thing while my achievements stayed in the shadows. How I was always pushed to the background and he was given the lead. And I understood this isn't a coincidence. It's a pattern of my whole life. My brother is the star, I'm the silhouette. And 20 euros K is just reinforcement of that. But in that moment, an idea was born in me. Time to act on my own. Not to ruin the feast, not to throw a tantrum, but to show everyone that my worth and position in life aren't subject to their preferences. I outlined a plan. Discuss with my brother, but not as a relative, but as an individual demanding equality and respect. Distance myself from our parents if they're unable to see me. Apply my abilities and resources to prove to myself and the world. My life can be full and meaningful without their approval. Build personal barriers so that I won't be used as a silhouette anymore. I recalled episodes from my youth that now seemed like omens of the present. A birthday party where he got luxurious gifts, and mine were simple. Academic triumphs that passed by, while he got genuine approval. disagreements about family expenses where my needs were ignored. And now €20 K for the ceremony, the climax. With each day, the irritation and resentment evolved into resolve. I understood. My life is my responsibility. And from now on, I won't let their verdicts dictate what's important to me. I met my brother one-on-one because of the €20 K he took from our parents, and finally understood how deep the injustice ran. After watching the ceremony remotely, every day was torture. Social media showed a universe where I don't figure. Photos, laughter, jubilation, and I'm outside it. I tried to focus on work, friends, hobbies, but everything boiled down to one thought. My family betrayed me, and my brother did it intentionally. I realized I can't hide anymore. I need to meet him face to face. Not over the phone, not in chat. A real exchange where he'll see my eyes and hear my tone. When I called him, my hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. I imagined how he'd greet me with his usual smile, confident, smug, without a hint of understanding. And that scared me the most. "Hello," he said, hearing my tone. "Hi," I responded steadily, masking the tremor. "We need to talk," I added. "About what?" he asked, as if he had no idea. I suggested meeting at the bistro where he often relaxes. When I entered, he was already sitting at the table by the window, smiling as if a routine chat was planned. I sat across from him, feeling every part of my body preparing for confrontation. "Let's take it easy," he said, trying to take control. "What's bothering you?" "Do you really think everything's fine?" I asked, reining in my irritation. €20,000 of our parents' money went to your ceremony, and they didn't even invite me." He smiled, and that smile hurt the most. "Come on," he said. "Don't dramatize, it's just a wedding, the day of my euphoria." "The day of your euphoria," I echoed. "And who am I in this story? The person erased from the family, the one who supports everyone and always ends up on the sidelines." I watched his gaze change, first a slight annoyed smile, then coldness. I recalled our youth, how he always took the best toys, parental attention, approval for the smallest achievements while my efforts stayed in the shadows. Back then, it seemed trivial. Now, a pattern of my entire existence. "I'm not demanding repayment," I said, trying to sound even. "I want you to understand what you've done. You've undermined a piece of my life, and it won't erase." "Well, that's your problem, old man," he shrugged. "I did what I thought was right." Pause, I tried to catch even a glimmer of remorse, but nothing. His gaze was empty, smug. I recalled episodes from youth. A birthday party where his friends got cooler gifts than mine. Academic achievements that parents approved formally, while his triumphs were celebrated from the heart. Disagreements about expenses where my needs were ignored. And now €20K, the climax of all these years. "Have you ever thought about how this matters to our parents too?" I continued, gathering courage. "It's their money, money that could have helped both of us." He leaned back in his seat. "Calm down, old man, it's a feast. Life goes on." I felt anger, pain, and resolve merging inside me. Resolve to affirm that my worth isn't subject to their preferences. We sat in the bistro silently, each in our own thoughts. I saw him getting nervous. At first he tried to smile, but the smile was forced. In him, understanding was growing that his actions had consequences he hadn't expected. I recalled the exchange with my mother, her detached gaze, phrases like, "We thought you didn't want to go." And I understood. I've always been in the shadows, and now, outside what they call family. "Listen," I said finally, "I need transparency. I don't want revenge, I don't want money. I want you to accept this was a wrong move. You can't just exploit our parents and disregard me." He hesitated. I saw something shifting inside him. His usual smug facade began to crumble. For the first time, he felt the weight of his actions. "Okay," he said quietly, "I understand." That was all I needed to hear. Acceptance, even if quiet. I left the bistro with a heavy soul but a sense of relief. I affirmed to myself, I can defend my boundaries. My worth isn't dictated by my brother, money, or celebrations. In my apartment, I sketched out a plan. Distance myself from parents and brother to protect myself. Invest in my career, self-development, financial independence. Build personal barriers so that I'll never be used again. Every evening I scrolled through the ceremony photos. The pain didn't subside, but with it came a sense of control and power. I was learning. Now my life is in my hands. I met with my parents and brother. It was time to reclaim my self-respect and show that my life is my responsibility. After the confrontation with my brother, I felt a mix of calm and growing anxiety. On one hand, I'd poured out everything accumulated and at least slightly felt heard. On the other, I knew the main challenge was ahead, our parents. They allowed all this, and if I don't protect myself now, their habit of disregarding my feelings will persist. I arranged a meeting. In my mind, a scheme spun, balanced, clear exchange without shouting, but with full emotional openness. "Mom, Dad," I started when they opened the door, "we need to discuss." They looked puzzled. Mom furrowed her brow. "What happened? Did you do something?" "I want to talk about my brother's ceremony and how I was completely bypassed," I said, keeping my tone steady, though my heart was hammering. "Bypassed?" Dad echoed with slight annoyance. "Yes, I wasn't invited. And more importantly, my brother took 20,000 euros of your money without notifying me." I watched as, for the first time in a long while, they looked at me not as the younger offspring, but actually listened. "Your brother had the day of his dreams," Dad began. "And who am I?" I interrupted. "The person who supported the family all his life, now not worthy of participating in one key event." Mom looked down, Dad frowned. Words weren't enough. I needed to show emotional strength. "Do you want the truth?" I continued. "For how many years have I been in my brother's shadow? Every time he took approval or gifts, I was there, helped, supported. And now he exploits your money for a feast, and they didn't even invite me." I paused so the words would hit straight to their souls, so they could feel the torment and resentment I'd hidden all these years. Mom started, but I raised my hand. "Let me finish. I'm not demanding repayment. I don't want conflicts. I want respect and acceptance. My feelings matter too." Pause. It was oppressive, tense. I saw two emotions battling in their eyes: protect the son who's always nearby and the habit of justifying my brother. "I'm not going to hide anymore," I said, clenching my fists. "If you're unable to see me as a full part of the family, then I'll build my life so that my worth depends only on me." Mom burst into tears. Dad sighed. I saw that they were truly listening to me for the first time, not just responding mechanically. "We didn't mean to hurt you," Dad said. "We just thought you'd understand." "Understanding isn't hiding when you're excluded," I interrupted. "Understanding is realizing that my feelings matter, that I'm part of the family too." Mom nodded, tears in her eyes. She saw me truly for the first time, not as the one who's always nearby. "Okay," she said quietly. "We made a mistake." I felt calm, but I knew the rift with my brother wasn't resolved yet. After the meeting with our parents, I called my brother. "We need to meet," I said without ceremony. "Again," he snorted. "You can't just exploit family money and bypass me. We have to close this chapter." We met in the park. He tried to smile, but this time I was prepared. "Did you hear me?" I asked. "I heard, but what do you want?" He smiled. "I want you to accept the mistake. Not for the money, not for revenge, but so we can move on without undermining each other's lives." He hesitated. I saw him feeling the weight of his actions for the first time. He didn't say sorry, but I understood. He heard me. "Okay," he said finally. "I understand." That was all I needed to hear. Acceptance, even if quiet. After these meetings, I felt incredible calm. I protected myself. My worth isn't subject to my brother or parents. And most importantly, I didn't turn into an avenger. I became stronger. I reclaimed my self-respect. I understood. A person's worth isn't measured by money, gifts, or positions at ceremonies. Worth is how you build your life and how you treat yourself. My life now isn't subject to their verdicts. I can celebrate my triumphs and build my connections so that I'm seen and respected.